Okay, I'd like to welcome you all here to our third annual home heating seminar. I'm Bob, you can tell from my name tag, Bob Laflamme, owner of Crowley Fuel Company. You'll see that I'm not going to read the law, but we'll put the law up there. It's a very simple law, and it was drafted in a cooperative effort between the Fire Marshal's Office, the legislature, and the insurance industry, and the Mass Oil Heat Council, who represent me and ultimately you. This is an excellent law. It's going to prevent a lot of problems with oil leaking from lines that no one can really discover where that's leaking from, because a lot of these lines are unsleeved and they go underneath cement. This is what we're talking about here. A 3/8 copper tube is what most people use for their oil supply line. And in some cases, this oil line is, 40, 50 years old, and it goes under cement and runs from the tank to the burner. So what I'd like to do is just pass this around so people can have a look at it. That's what we're talking about, is an unsleeved oil line that comes in contact with cement or anything corrosive. So you'll see in the law, subsection 1, enclose any fuel supply line with a continuous non-metallic sleeve. This is the standard now. You'll see that there's a plastic non-metallic sleeve here. Same oil line, 3/8 copper tubing. You can find them at larger sizes for when somebody has a larger burner that needs more supply. It might be 1/2 inch, we install them. But as I'll pass this along, you'll see that's just plastic, and that will protect it from anything that's corrosive. So that's one way that you can satisfy the law, is to replace your oil line that's unsleeved with a sleeve line like that. Typically somewhere in the vicinity of $200 to $300, depending on how long and what else is involved. So that will satisfy the law. If, let's say, that it's not so feasible to do that, the second subsection is to cause an oil safety valve to be installed. And this is one manufacturer, Suntech's version of an oil safety valve. And all it is an anti-siphon device that if for any reason there's a break in the line, it's going to stop the flow. Now often we have installed these. It's not that often we install them. This is not people's first choice typically. But it has happened when we've installed these that we've had to go back because the people had no heat. And what we discovered was there was a hole in the oil line, and so we had to replace the oil line. So that's one way that you can satisfy this law. And the other way is to run your oil line overhead. If your oil line does not come in contact with anything corrosive like cement, dirt, then that will satisfy the law as well. And it doesn't have to be sleeved. We often install them sleeved overhead just because it's just as easy and not too much more expensive to get it that way. So that's another option that you have. And so then we move on to section C. Just talks about who will determine whether or not you're in compliance. And it's a licensed oil burner technician for the state of Massachusetts is all you need. So you talk to your oil company and ask them to do an inspection. And what they'll do is, and you'll see on section 3D, the form that they're looking for is a very simple form. It's CMR 527 CMR 4.00 Form 1A. And all it is a checkoff as to which way you're protected. Some people are double protected. They might check off both an anti-siphon device or a sleeved oil line. That does happen. We have some people who like to have the both, and we'll pay for that. To install an anti-siphon device, on average, is somewhere around $200 for that job. So And I'd like also to mention that underground oil tanks are not affected by this law. Okay, so if you have an underground oil tank and your lines go under the dirt, then you don't have to comply. When you replace that tank, then you'll have to upgrade. So that's when it will be necessary for somebody with an underground tank. And that's pretty much all I have to say about the oil line law. We're going to now talk about Chapter 206 of the Acts of 2008. We touched on this last fall because it was known that this biofuel law was going to become effective as of July 1st. Also, July 1st, like the oil line law. They were pretty busy in 2008. What I'd like to do is skip past this for a second and go to definitions. There are a few things we're going to want to define so we can understand the law. One is a distillate. And a distillate is, just a purified liquid that's being condensation, produced by condensation from a vapor. So whiskey is a distillate. Number two, petroleum, heating oil, is a distillate and a byproduct of refining crude oil. And diesel and kerosene are also considered distillates. So whenever you hear somebody doing a report on the price of distillates went up, they're talking about heating oil, diesel fuel, and kerosene. Feedstock is the raw material that was used to make that fuel. And you have different types of feedstocks. One of them is cellulosic biofuel, which would be derived from plants, basically. Okay, so any type of plant, whether it be soybean, corn, witchgrass, whatever that was. And another source of another feedstock for biofuel would be a waste feedstock. Previously used or discarded solid, liquid, or contained gaseous material with heating value resulting from industrial, commercial, or household food service activities that would otherwise be stored, treated, transferred, or disposed. And some examples are waste vegetable oils, waste animal fats, substances derived from wastewater and the treatment of wastewater or grease trap waste. And there's no petroleum involved here, and also no hazardous waste allowed in this feedstock. So now we can look back at that law, and what they're looking for, the key word here is an eligible petroleum distillate substitute fuel. So in other words, it's taking the place of oil. And the law states that as of July 1st, there's going to have to be a blending of 2% biofuel with your petroleum. And by 2011, section, well, let's see, here it is, section 4 will have to be 3% by 2011, 4% by 2012, and 5% by 2013. So there's no provision beyond that, but for now, the next 4 years, we are going to be within the next 4 years, we're going to be at a 5% biofuel blend, which will make no difference to how your heating systems will operate at all. It's believed that you could go as high as 20% blend, which is what you would see would be a B20. That's the blend of biofuel. This would be a B2 for July 2010, a B3, a B4, and a B5. Okay, so when you see the B, that's the biofuel blend. The man who came here to Bob Serio to speak with us last year drove here in a Jeep Liberty with a blend of B20 biofuel that he was using in that vehicle. So it's it has issues, but beyond B20, we will be fine. Certainly B5 will be no problem for anyone's heating system